All right, Brant. Lions kick off the season this Sunday, late afternoon game at Lambeau Field against the Packers, one of the most talked about teams in the NFL right now after stupid Jerry Jones makes another stupid move and makes a blockbuster trade, sending Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for a couple firsts and their D tackle right there in the center of that D line, which I do want to talk about. I think that's maybe an underrated loss, actually, although Micah Parsons is absolutely elite in a different way. I do want to talk about that. But we got Lions football to talk about, man. It's been a couple of weeks. It's like we keep looking at each other like there's not a lot to talk about with this team. Like there haven't been a lot of roster changes, not a lot of big storylines. It's like, let's just get to kick off. And so as we record this on Wednesday night, the NFL season kicks off tomorrow night. And look, fantasy football drafts have happened or are happening right now. Kickoff tomorrow night. Man, it is like once tomorrow night happens, football is officially in the air. And that means Dan Campbell and the Lions are back with two new coordinators this year, but many familiar faces returning on both sides of the football and some new faces as well. And so, Brant, I want to specifically talk about the Lions first and where you feel like this team is right now. So you don't get much out of preseason. I mean, maybe it's just some pennies here and some little nuggets of things you've picked up, but where do you assess this team right now? And specifically in the NFC North, I mean, that can be the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears. Going into week one, where do you see this team sitting at and why?
I think they're sitting basically right now, Dave, neck and neck with two other teams, and I think that's clearly the Vikings and the Packers. So obviously, week one, massive on the road. Obviously, with the addition of Micah Parsons to the Packers, it does make it a little bit of a different dynamic. I'm assuming he's going to play. I mean, he's probably going to take 3 or 4 epidurals in the back or whatever it's going to take to get him on the field. And to your point about Jerry Jones, I mean, who doesn't want to rebuild at 82? I mean, why not start fresh? You've got plenty of time left. But no, in all seriousness, Dave, I think they're sitting right there neck and neck in the NFC North. And Dave, we talk about this every year on this pod, and it seems like it always rings true. It's the NFL, man. Like you can go from worst to first in the parity in the NFL, any given Sunday type thing. But I look for the offense to stay as consistent as it has been the last couple of years. Dave, I know you're really high on J-Mo this year. You're expecting big things from him. Maybe Laporta comes back into the fold a little bit more this year, after, the injury and him battling through some things last year. And I really do expect the Vikings and the Packers, maybe not wins wise, but I think that maybe those teams are just better than they were last year. Maybe the Vikings take a step up with JJ McCarthy instead of Sam Darnold, and Jordan Love with another year under his belt. Maybe this division gets a little tighter and closer than comfort. And Dave, I think honestly, 12 wins could win this division. I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag out division. You can see a lot of 1-1 splits in this division.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. I do think that the Lions right now, to me, have done nothing good or bad to move them up or down in what I have been thinking about them. I think that they are at the top of the NFC North. I think the North runs through Detroit until somebody proves otherwise. And, you win it back-to-back years. You've got the opportunity to say it runs through Detroit. And while I'm not impressed with their offseason, I do feel like they're still the best team that are going to have their work cut out for them. And it is going to be an early test. I mean, this week one kickoff at Lambeau Field, all of the buzz and the excitement that the Packers have. And not that those fans need it anyway, those cheeseheads. I mean, they're wild and crazy anyway. They're going to be having a few throughout the day, and that late kickoff like that, late afternoon kickoff, it's going to be tough. I think what I'm really curious to see from the Lions, a couple of things. One, maybe not as important, but last year when David Montgomery was healthy, he was RB1. If you count RB1 as like he was the first running back that they trotted out there every game, and then they would kind of sprinkle Gibbs in. And I do wonder And when I say sprinkle, I mean by the end of the year, especially Monty got hurt. Like Gibbs was clearly the guy. But my point is, they like to kind of start the game with Monty, set the tone. And what I wonder is, does that shift this year? Do they come out with Gibbs? Do they run them both out there? They did that a couple of times last year. You cannot keep Jahmyr Gibbs off the field much. That guy is electric. He's a game changer. And with that being said, he's a game changer and electric and at his best because he's got a running back partner in David Montgomery. But what do you think about that? And it may be an irrelevant point, but I was just curious.
Dave, you know what's funny about that question? I love that you were kind of going through the offense a little bit. Let's talk just quickly, and I want to know your thoughts on this too. What is a John Morton? What is that? I mean, he's basically a relatively unknown, kind of an unproven commodity that he's obviously from the area, grew up here, went to Western. Like, he does have roots in this area, but that doesn't mean that you can automatically run an offense, Dave. And especially a higher powered offense like this. So I think there's going to be maybe some wrinkles maybe we didn't see last year. But Dave, I can't imagine that this team starts 1-2, God forbid 1-3, and his name isn't already getting dragged through the mud. Like, it's going to be a tough sell. And Dan Campbell has told us since Ben Johnson left that this is his offense. This is what he runs. So I am just curious to see John Morton's role on this team and how much different the offense might look rather than Ben Johnson's offense. And that's a part of it, Dave. Are they on the field at the same time? Is it more they're catching the ball out of the backfield? That means less touches for Amon-Ra and potentially JMO. Like, is that a good thing? Less balls to Laporta. That doesn't seem like it's going to be an effective thing. So I'm just very curious, Dave, to see. We haven't talked about John Morton at all. So what is your thought on it, Dave?
I mean, I don't know much about Johnny Morton. I know he was here in like 2022. Like he knows Dan Campbell, the system. He's been around the team. That's great. I always err on the side of we just assume that there's continuity, like because he was here a few years ago, that he can just kind of hop right in and you don't miss a beat when you lose somebody like Ben Johnson. And I know that Ben Johnson left on some sour, sort of just weird terms here. And so people are not huge fans right now of him in this area. But Ben Johnson was a great offensive coordinator. I'm not saying that it wasn't Dan Campbell's offense, but he was great. He had some flaws now, especially that came out at the end of last year, but he was a great OC. I think that's a fair point to bring up. And I'm not knocking Johnny Morton, but I haven't seen him. And I know he comes over from the Broncos, and everything you hear about him is like, oh yeah, like teams were going to be calling. Like he was kind of a hot name, but he had the connection back to Dan and ultimately wanted to come here. We'll see. And I'll say the same thing for Kelvin Shepard. I mean, Aaron Glenn also stepping away from that defense, and he got criticism early on. And if he could even be the DC, but man, did he grow into that role? Now you take your linebackers coach, you put him in that role. Again, we assume because he's been here, he's been in Aaron Glenn's system, that everything is just cool, 2 thumbs up, and we're going to hop right in. And yeah, you do get Aiden Hutchinson back, a massive piece of your defense. But there's still some question marks. I'm not convinced that DJ Reed is an upgrade over Carlton Davis. I mean, I think that a lot of these guys will take steps. I think Brian Branch is going to continue to establish himself as one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And look, I do think that this team is very good. I just don't know when I look at the question marks that I brought up at the beginning, and you brought up the OC first. I need to see it. Like I want to believe that nothing's changed and that everything is kosher and cool, but like it's going to kind of be a wait and see for me. And to go back to the offense, Brandon, I'll kick it back to you in just a second. Just one other thought out there that we just can't forget about. And I know Lions fans haven't. He's one of the heart and souls of this team in the city, but Frank Ragnow, not going to be there on Sunday. And then you shift Graham Glasgow to center, who is going to be like a 6th guy coming off the bench and be in the rotation like he has been, but now he's your center. And then you've got 2 new linemen on that O-line in Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge. One's a rookie, one's, I know was drafted a couple years ago. These guys are unproven. And so, yeah, you can insulate these guys with a Taylor Decker and Panay Sewell, obviously, but they're going to take a little bit of time as well. And that is, all these things are connected. Johnny Morton's success is directly tied to the O-line. That's been the strength of this football team. And so I'll be curious to see too, because you've got those two new guys, like, does that change the scheme up? Like, I don't know enough about them yet. Does that mean they are going to want to run more, pass more, do more? Like, I don't know what that means, but I do know that they're unproven. And I know that they're going to get Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and these guys right here in week one. Brant, what is the spread on this game?
2.5. Lions catching 2.5 here.
2.5. I want to know your thoughts. I've got a few. Go ahead.
Yeah, my first thought is what an NFL line. They certainly know. Man, on Sundays are so much different than Saturday. If you're going to the board and you're looking for good deals, you're not going to find it necessarily in the NFL. But I will say this. A field goal game, that seems right, especially early on. One thing that rings true on Saturday and typically on Sundays too is early on the defenses will be in front of the offenses. That just happens in football. So I'd like probably a little bit of a lower scoring game here, potentially a 24-20, maybe a 24-17. But I actually see this one going the Packers' way. I would actually lay the 2.5 with the Pack and eat the points.
Oof. Gosh, I just have to play devil's advocate here. By the way, subscribe to Garage Takes. Jump in the comments down below. What do you guys think of this 2.5 point spread? I hear you. I just I feel like I want to follow you there, but I'm going to take the Lions 2.5 because I feel like they win by a field goal. In fact, I could see it being as time expires, Jake Bates for the win at Lambeau Field. I feel like Detroit, and maybe I'm just totally making this up, but their backs are against the wall a bit, and I think that they feel that internally. I'm not saying Dan Campbell's on the chopping block or anything like that, but I mean from the success that this team had last year in a historically good regular season, it was awesome. The vibes around the city, it was like going into that year following the disaster against the Niners in the NFC Championship was like Super Bowl or bust. And then they came out and did it. They dominated the league. And then the way that season ended, losing at home, you get that first round bye, got home field advantage, and you drop one to the Commanders. I feel like that has to linger in this locker room. And I have to believe that a coach like Dan Campbell has not let these guys forget that. And I know there's new guys here, but most of them are here. They're Brad Holmes guys. And so for that reason, I'm going to take the Lions in a close one. I do not see this being a high-scoring game. I could see this being, let's say, like a 24-21, type of game, something like that. But yeah, I'm going to take the Lions here. Guys, let us know. What do you think? The Lions get this done week one, or are you all about Micah Parsons and his epidural to go play against the Lions? Let us know here on Garage Takes.